Yeah, I was born here in Salt Lake City, and I'm a fifth generation Utahard. My daughters are sixth, so I've been around for a while. My family's been around. And most recently, I've been backcountry skiing in the Wasatch Mountains for the last 20 or so years. And during that time, I've seen a huge amount of growth. And I'm concerned about the future of the Wasatch, which seems to be under constant pressure for expansion. I think the kind of open space and public access to areas is really a huge, just general issue. Areas like, what happens in Central Park in New York, it may have no bearing on Utah directly, but eventually those sort of things trickle down, and what happens here in Utah will ultimately affect what happens in the wide open spaces of Colorado, and ultimately beyond that up in Alaska and things like that. So it's a small local issue, but it has the policies that are set from it have big implications to it. Yeah, the Flagstaff lift is going up a mountain named Flagstaff Peak, coincidentally, and it's taking place at Alta, and Alta is at the very head of Little Cottonwood Canyon. Little Cottonwood Canyon is a box canyon, dead-end canyon, so you drive all the way up, and right at the towards the head of the canyon you have Snowbird on one side and Alta is on the other, and currently Alta occupies the uphill viewers right-hand side, and the right-hand side is also would be the south side of the road, but it has north-facing slopes, and the north-facing slopes in the Wasatch and most of North America are where all the good skiing is, because they're shady, they don't get as much sun, they're colder, so they tend to preserve the really good snow. So the difference or the impact with the Flagstaff lift is that it's on the complete other side of the road. It's on the south-facing side, north side of the road. So right now, Alta occupies kind of one half of the upper part of Little Cottonwood Canyon, but by putting the lift in, it would occupy the full 180 degrees of the upper Little Cottonwood drainage. So it's just one single lift, but the implications of it would really cut off the whole top of the canyon for free public access and uphill traffic. And Little Cottonwood Canyon is one of the most avalanche-prone areas in the U.S. It also has a huge amount of traffic. There's places like around Silverton that have maybe bigger slide paths, but not nearly as many people. Little Cottonwood has a lot of people and a lot of slide paths coming down, so you have a lot of potential for avalanches coming down. So avalanches are the number one concern. And the reason that Alta wants to put the lift in is because they stand the risk of losing the ability to shoot their artillery. Right now they're shooting across the road and they're shooting across houses, and with the Homeland Security Act that's going to be maybe or maybe not cut down, so they don't want to shoot over houses and they may lose their artillery to be able to do so. So what they are proposing is to put a lift up, and then through skier compaction, that's just where a bunch of people ski it, it breaks up the structure of the snow, packs it down, and it becomes more stable because of that. Whether that will actually happen or not is what a lot of the controversy is about.
Why is there so much conversation going on about it in the local community?
Well, the lift itself, and this is kind of a problem with the Wasatch, is that it's such a patchwork of land ownerships. For a long time it was just all mining, so there were private inholdings with the mining, but then there's also Forest Service land that's in there. There's the town of Alta is mixed in there, then nearby there's also wilderness area. So there's all these different little patches of land ownership in there. And the area, Flagstaff now is considered kind of public terrain, although it's been private property for a long time, but it's been allowed, people have been allowed to go use it. It was purchased a long time ago, maybe 30 or so years ago, by Dick Bass, the owner of Snowbird. And recently it was purchased from Dick Bass by Alta. And part of the controversy is that this was kind of done quietly. And so, people all of a sudden woke up one day and was like, oh, this area is not Forest Service, it's public or it's private property, and we stand the risk of losing it. And I think that was, a big kind of an eye-opener for a lot of people. And when you start looking into it, areas like the south face of Superior, those are private property because they were originally mining claims that after the mining collapse, they were kind of considered worthless property, and then people bought them up, and then when skiing developed, now suddenly they're very hot real estate, especially from a ski resort's perspective.
That said, like, what's so special about the Wasatch? A lot of people have said that, you know, these ski resorts, I mean, a lot of the places you can go and ski and access from these places are in view of a city. It's not really wilderness. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, that's part of really what makes the Wasatch so unique is that you have a major metropolitan area, Salt Lake City, and now we've got right behind us, we've got Park City, we've got Heber, we've got Provo, all these areas around, but yet you have this pristine backcountry area that's within a short distance. Like in the Wasatch, you don't do any winter camping unless you really want to practice. I mean, you ski all day, and when you have 10 minutes of daylight left, you ski back down to your car and go home, right, or go to a restaurant or something. And so it's the ability to have a great wilderness experience, but also have the city life, you know, so you can have jobs and you can do things like that nearby. And that's part of what makes it so unique and so attractive to people moving here.
You make the point that it's quick and easy access, but the idea is if they put a lift in there, there's this notion in Utah that there's no uphill travel. I've read about this. Can you speak to that and explain the idea of uphill travel and
right,
why that
uphill
affects the
travel?
situation?
I mean, backcountry skiing is really all about the up. It's you have to, you know, climb up or somehow get to the top before you can ski down. And you know, uphill travel for some reason in Utah within the ski resorts has been outlawed or banned. You can go uphill on Forest Service land in Idaho, like at Sun Valley. You see quite a few people going uphill. In Colorado, you can go uphill, etc. But in Utah, it's within the ski resorts, it's been banned. You can't have uphill traffic. And where that plays into the whole Flagstaff lift is right now, that lift is going up a ridge line. And one of the reasons they want to put it in on the ridge line is that it's a very safe area as far as avalanches. But that also makes it a prime trailhead for access. And that trail that goes right up to the top of Flagstaff is one of the primary backcountry trails within the Wasatch. So that would all be knocked out, and then if you wanted to ski the terrain that's on the backside, Days Fork, Silver Fork, Cardiff, and things like that, you would then have to go way around to get there. And at that point, it would kind of be moot because you'd have a lift to the top. So why would you go, you know, an extra long distance to hike further to get to a place that a lift, you know, ultimately you'd climb for 2 hours and you get to a chairlift. So from a backcountry skier's perspective, that would be highly undesirable. I mean, you basically wouldn't go there.
Right. Interesting. So it would basically just cut off all touring at the top of Little Cottonwood Canyon.
Yeah, it would. And Alta, over time, you know, right now that's just one of quite a few areas. Alta also owns Grizzly Gulch and Davenport and Michigan City, and that's where they're running their cat skiing operation right now as well. But you know, those areas are popular backcountry areas. Alta has, you know, allows people to go there and, you know, not heavy-handed about it at all. A chairlift would be a totally different situation, I think. Concern with the Flagstaff lift is the terrain that the lift, like directly under the lift, is all south-facing. That's kind of swaggy skiing. It wouldn't be that ideal. The real prime skiing for the Flagstaff lift would be out of bounds. It wouldn't be, you know, the idea is you'd put a lift up there and a bunch of people would ski the south-facing slope, what's called the Emma Ridges area, and everything coming back down into Alta. But in reality, the best skiing and the most attractive terrain would be on the other side, which would be the Flagstaff, Days, or Days Fork, Silver Fork, Cardiff Fork area. And so that's really going to put a lot of resort skiers immediately into the backcountry. And from backcountry skiers' perspective, you wouldn't want to be touring up and all of a sudden have hordes of people skiing down from on top of you. From a resort standpoint, they put a gate up and a warning sign, and you're kind of on your own. So that leads into the idea of slack country or side country. And the resorts, within their own boundaries, control the areas, you know, and bomb them and things like that. But if you just put a rope up and say, you know, you're leaving the resort, you're on your own, what happens when people go in there is really, you know, their own responsibility. So it's like lift serviced backcountry skiing. There's a sense of responsibility, but once you step outside the gate, you're on your own. And that's the case like up in the canyons. That's one of the more notorious areas. You can ride 99.90, the lift up there, and then boom, you're in the backcountry. And they've had quite a few fatalities up there. And that terrain is minuscule compared to what people will be accessing. So I think there is a bigger risk for, you know, kind of unwary people to immediately get dumped into the backcountry.